Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday and welcome to Love Talks. I'm your host, Ina Love, and as always, I'm delighted to have you. If you are new to Love Talks, I want to give just a little brief recap of what Love Talks is all about. I do a weekly talk segment every Sunday at 5 o'clock, and it's sort of a progression of series where we've done a series of talks on healing the heart, on love and relationships, on living for God, and now we are in the Into the Heart series. So if you've missed any of the previous segments, you can find all of them here on my Facebook page, also at Ina Love Poetry. That's my YouTube channel, and I would really appreciate if you would stop by and like and subscribe. Also, you can find the segments on my website, somethingaboutlovefoundation.org. Today, our topic is spiritual connection. And like I said, we're going to be continuing. We started this series last week, and we did a segment on going into the heart. And we continue this series today, again, talking about spiritual connection. So, what exactly is spiritual connection? A spiritual connection is what I would call a soul-to-soul connection. It's like a heart-to-heart connection. And you can actually have this type of connection with anyone. It could be, from a family member to a friend, a love interest. You can also have a spiritual connection with a person who has crossed over. Because as we know, we are all truly a spirit, an eternal being. And the spirit, the soul, which is, the realest part of us, our soul never dies. So you can actually have a spiritual connection with a person who has transitioned, as I like to say, because, as I said, we don't ever truly die. We leave our physical body, but our soul, our spirit actually lives on. A few weeks ago, in one of the Love Talk segments, I shared, it was actually in the Power of Love segment, I shared a really powerful story about a connection that I have with the artist Prince. Prince, who transitioned, I believe, like 5 years ago now. But I'm going to just kind of expand on that story and share with you this beautiful connection that I have with this man that I've never met in person. I've seen him in concert maybe a dozen times. I've come very close to meeting him several times, but it never quite panned out. Well, anyone who truly knows me knows that I truly adore this man. Like, I have adored him probably since I discovered him in the 80s. So, and I'm not even exactly sure why I have such a deep connection with Prince, because, a spiritual connection can, it can range from something very subtle, or it can be, a very deep connection. If you have ever, let's say you're thinking about a person and they just happen to call you out of the blue and you're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. That is a form of a spiritual connection. So, it can show up in many ways. And the closer and more connected you are to that person, the deeper the connection is. Like, I get signs and messages from Prince all the time, and it always amazes me. But I just want to kind of share some of what I've experienced, so that you can be aware, and perhaps discover if you have this type of connection with someone. And again, it could be someone who's, here in this 3D world, or in the spiritual dimension, the physical, the spiritual realm. So I'm going to start this segment just kind of recapping a story that I shared in the Power of Love segment. But I'm going to tell this story very briefly and quickly, because we're going to kind of build on this story tonight as I share this information on spiritual connection. So about, like I said, I believe it was 5 years ago, 2015, I want to say. April 21st, the artist Prince was found at his home at Paisley Park. And I was actually in Brussels, Belgium on the day that Prince transitioned. But when I returned home, I was just really in sort of like a state of disbelief. Like I literally could not believe that Prince had transitioned because I had literally dreamed of meeting this man for over 30 years. And I just could not fathom that it wasn't going to happen in the way that I thought. So, like I said, in just trying to process it and come to terms with the fact that he had transitioned, for a few weeks went by and I was very unsettled. So I decided that I would have a party in his honor. I held a tribute to Prince party, and I hired an event planner and planned this elaborate party where they literally turned my house purple with purple lights. There was purple carpet coming up the stairs. There was flowers everywhere, of course, Prince music and catered buffet, and it was just like a real Prince affair. I had an artist painting a live portrait of Prince that evening, which is going to also become a big part of this story. But anyway, it was this beautiful tribute party. Well, on the night of that event, the event planner asked me how long had I known Prince. He just assumed that I knew him because, I had gone to such great lengths to plan this party. And I kind of giggled when he asked me how long had I known him. And I said, well, you may not believe this, but I've never met Prince. I've never met him in person. I've seen him in concert and, I've come close to meeting him many times, but it never actually happened. And he was truly amazed that I had never met him. And he said to me, well, Ina, you have to go to his memorial service. And I thought, well, that would be so absolutely incredible, but how in the world would I ever make that happen? Like, I don't even know him. And he said, well, he was planning Prince's private memorial, and he actually got me an invitation, and I went. I attended Prince's private memorial, which still blows my mind to this day because, when I shared this story, I said that it was a very private, intimate celebration here in Beverly Hills, California. And it was a small group of people, maybe 100 people at the most. But his family, his closest friends, his band, like his inner circle. And I was there, which was just absolutely incredible. And of course, that is a spiritual connection that made that possible. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that I know that I was meant to be at that event. And, just as fate would have it, I was there. I was meant to be there, for truly all the love and devotion that I've had for this man all of these years. So, um, Prince actually has um, appeared in my dreams on 3 separate occasions. And the very first time it happened, it was about a month before he transitioned. And I woke up one morning and I just remembered that he was in my dream, although I didn't remember the dream. And I was saying to all of my friends, like, I just have this feeling like I need to go to Paisley Park. And of course, none of us knew that Prince was at the end of his physical life. But, I just had this really intense feeling like I need to go to Paisley Park. And I was jokingly telling my friends, I'm going to go to Paisley Park and I'm just going to camp out there until he lets me in. Well, of course, I never did that. I had no idea that he wouldn't be on Earth much longer. Then about 2 weeks later, I had another dream. It was the realest, most vivid dream I have ever had in my life. Like, I remember it like a movie. It's as if like I can see it play in my mind like a movie that I've watched. Well, in this dream, Prince and I were riding in a car together. He was driving, I was on the passenger side, and I looked over at him, and it was like he was so far away from me. And I was like scooting across the seat, scooting, like for a really long time. And finally, I was sitting next to him, and he was like larger than life. I remember like we were sitting beside each other, but I had to look up at him like he was like this massive person. And I looked up at him and he looked at me, and I said, "You know, I love you, right?" And I said it like a question. And he looked at me and he just smiled, but it was like a smile that spoke volumes. And, I was like, oh my God, he really loves me. So we're driving along, and I said, "Where are we going?" And he said, "You'll see. I just hang on, you'll see." So we're driving, driving. Finally, he stops the car. He comes around. He was a gentleman. He opened the door. I get out, and I'm like, "Where are we going, Prince?" He's like, "Come on, you'll see." He goes, "It's time to tell everyone." And the way he said it was like I should know what we were going to tell everyone. And I'm like thinking, like, what is he talking about? What are we telling everyone? So I'm just like, we were walking along this winding pathway, and I'm just walking and thinking, like, what in the world is he talking about? So finally, we arrive at this building, and Prince, there were double doors, and he opened the doors, and I looked inside, and it was a room full of people that I knew, like family and friends, and just this room full of people. And I looked at him and I said, "What's going on? Like, what is everyone doing? Why are we here?" And he goes, "Come on, Ina, it's time to tell everyone we're married." And trust me when I tell you, in my head, I freaked out in this dream. Like I was literally screaming in my head in the dream. So it was so interesting because it was like I was watching this dream, and it was an incredible dream. So after that dream, I started telling all of my friends who know how much I adore Prince that Prince is my spiritual husband, and I met him in a dream, which I think is so beautiful. And if I ever write my story about Prince, I'm going to title it "I Met Him in a Dream." So, as I said, I had all of these dreams for so many years of meeting him, and it actually happened in a dream, but it was such a beautiful dream. So, about um, maybe 2 years ago, I was in a lift with this guy, and we were just having like this really amazing conversation. And somehow Prince came up in the conversation. I don't remember how it happened, but I started telling him that I have this really beautiful connection with Prince that I really don't understand. I said, I don't know why I'm so connected to him, because I get signs and messages and like all kind of incredible things happening. Of course, I went to his memorial service, and so many things happened as a result of that, which I'll share more about. But I was telling him I have this really deep connection with Prince. And he asked me, had I ever heard of a woman by the name of Marla Freeze? And I said, no, never heard of her. Well, he told me that she is a world renowned medium. Like she's able to communicate with people on the other side. And he said, you should go and talk to her. Maybe you can connect with Prince and try and get some answers. So I thought, wow, that's perfect. So I reached out to this woman, Marla. I scheduled a session with her. It took me 6 months to get to see her. Like, that's really how busy this woman is. In fact, when she called me, I didn't even remember her name. I was like, Marla Freeze. I'm sorry, I don't know. But, anyways, so I scheduled the appointment, the session. I go to see her. And the only thing I said to her is, because I wanted to be sure that Prince was coming through. The only thing I said to her is, I want to connect with my spiritual husband. So we scheduled the session. I go to see her. I get there and I'm like anxious and nervous. It was like really amazing. But she and I just start having like, just like a really light, casual conversation, kind of getting to know one another. And all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, someone's here." And I mean, I knew what she meant. And she says, he's showing me a book. She's like, he has a book and he's really excited about this book. And I'm like, okay. And then she goes, wow, this person's really excited. I see a blue book. And she goes, by chance, do you have a book? Did you write a book? And I said, yes, actually I do. I wrote a book of poetry. And she goes, well, I'm sure this is your book and this person is so excited about it. So I'm starting to think like, okay, it's a possibility it's Prince, because I have a poem in my book that I wrote as a tribute to him. So I'm thinking, okay, like maybe it's him. Still didn't say anything to her about, who my spiritual husband is. So then she says, well, he's showing me the number three. There's something about the number three and an earring. And now, like, my antenna is really starting to go up, because I have a little, what I call a little sacred box, that I have a lot of little, very special things in this box. And one of the things in the box, there's many things in this box, but there are a pair of earrings, a domino which has the number 33 on it, and several things I have in there in threes. And when she said this, I'm like, and it's a little purple box. I'm like, wow, this is sort of kind of sounding like Prince, like he would know these things, because that's something really special to me and the poem in the book. And then just out of nowhere, she goes, oh my gosh, this is Prince. Prince is here. And I was like, Prince? Like, I tried to play it off, again, I wanted to be sure it was him. And I go, Prince? And she goes, yeah, Prince, the singer, the artist, Prince, this is him. He's here. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's him? And she goes, I've met this energy before. I know Prince, that he's here. And I went like, really? Really? He's here? And then she caught on and she goes, wait a minute. Is Prince your spiritual husband? And I said, yes, he is actually. And she goes, do you know how many women think that? I said, well, he came to me in a dream and told me we were married. And she says, oh, well, that's different. So we continue with the session. And he started confirming so many things. I mean, I was just blown away. He acknowledged the fact that I had the party for him. She's like, he's showing me something about a party. Like, was there some type of party? And I said, oh, I had a tribute party for him when he transitioned. She said, well, that's probably, he's acknowledging that. She said, he's showing me his home, something about his home. And I said, oh, I went to Paisley Park last year on my birthday, and I had the most incredible experience at Paisley Park. Like, I literally danced on his basketball court, which wasn't allowed, but the person that I was there with, one of my favorite songs came on, and he's like, come on, let's go dance on the basketball court. So we did, which was incredible. So he acknowledged that I had gone to Paisley Park. She said, he's showing me a necklace. And I went, oh my God, like several years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I had a necklace made of Prince's symbol that I can actually show you. But sadly, unbelievably, someone scammed me and took the necklace, but he acknowledged it, which was so special to me. But if you can actually see that, this was the actual pendant that I had made, and it's his symbol, which he calls the love symbol. So he acknowledged that necklace. Then one of the most incredible things that happened in this session, and there is no way in this world, I think literally there are maybe 2 people that I shared this story with, no, maybe a few more, because I would talk about Prince all the time with my friends. But she said, now he's showing me hearts. She's like, I see all these falling hearts, like it's raining hearts. She's like, what is it about these hearts? Well, a few years before Prince transitioned, this actually happened before he transitioned. I went on a helicopter tour in Los Angeles with a friend. One of my friends was visiting, and we went on a helicopter tour. And I didn't know this was going to happen, but we're just cruising along. And the pilot says, if you look below, we're flying over the home of the artist Prince. And I was like, no way, I'm in his airspace. Like, that's literally what I said. I was like so overjoyed. And I thought to myself, like, I have to come back someday. I'm going to fly over his house and I'm going to do something. Well, I had decided that I was going to hire that same helicopter pilot. I was going to fly over his home and flood his home with paper hearts. And I was actually researching companies to make these biodegradable paper hearts with little flower seeds in them. So, it would be something very environmentally safe. And I was going to flood his home with these hearts, and he acknowledged it. So I absolutely knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was him. And of course, this woman knows what she's doing. She knew it was Prince, but it was the most incredible, incredible experiences. Now, mind you, I still to this day don't know why I'm so connected to Prince. I believe because we obviously had a past life connection, but we clearly have a heart connection because I really like when for as long as I've listened to Prince's music, what I've always admired about him is, he truly believed in love. Like he was on this lifelong quest to find love. And, he wrote a lot of music about love. And I actually very much believe in his philosophy on love. Like we have a very similar philosophy on love. And I found out recently that he created all of his music in what is known as 432 hertz. And it's a frequency, a tone that is in all of his music. And it's actually what is called a love frequency. So I think I was also drawn to that frequency in his music. But, and also his lifelong devotion to music, which I find absolutely incredible that, this man devoted his life to music. So I've always had such an admiration for him. Well, I shared with you the dream that I had when we were in the car and he told me we were married. Well, this is so incredible, but I had two moments from that dream which played out in real life. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. So, on the night that I had the tribute to Prince party, I mentioned that I had an artist who came and painted a live portrait of Prince. So during the party, I'm cruising all around and I see this portrait that he's painting, and he painted Prince smiling. And the moment I saw that portrait, I said, it was that moment in the dream when I said to him, I love you, right? And he smiled. If you look up images of Prince, and obviously there are many, but he's not often smiling in images. He's, a very joyful person, but he didn't really smile so often. So, but that portrait that he painted, for me, it was that moment in the dream. But the second one is even more amazing. So on the night that I went to Prince's private memorial service, there was this huge portrait of Prince on display. And it's like Prince standing beside a car. And I really didn't think anything of it. It was like, oh, this portrait of him on display. And I went and stood beside the portrait and I asked my friend to take a picture for me. And I'm actually going to show you this photograph because when my friend took this picture and he handed my phone to me, I swear to you, the moment I looked at that photo, it was as if someone shined a blinding light at me. Like I couldn't even look at it. I looked at my phone and I just like I had to look away because the instant I saw it, I saw that moment in the dream when we got out of the car and we were like, when we got out of the car and before we started walking down that pathway, it was that moment standing beside the car. So this is, I hope you can see this, but that is the portrait of Prince and the car, and I stood beside the car. And of course, it being in black and white, and I'm trying to move this around in different angles. I'm hoping that this, you're able to see this okay. But, with the, I just lost my train of thought with that. But, I was saying that with this portrait, this picture being in black and white, it was very much like the dream. The dream was in black and white, but literally this was like a moment from that dream, which still blows me away to this day. So, I've had so many just unbelievable and incredible things that have happened in connection to Prince. And, like I could literally tell you countless stories, and I will share more. But the point of all of this being that I really want you to know that you can have this type of soul connection with anyone. I think it truly is. It is the heart that connects us. And when we deeply care for someone, like love makes miracles, truly. Like love truly is a miracle maker, because I know that it is the love that I have for Prince that, is the reason that I was able to go to his memorial service, and, all of these incredible things that have happened in my life. So, I get really excited when I talk about Prince because I love talking about him. I think he's just one of the most incredible people. And I truly wish that I'd had an opportunity to meet him, but I did meet him in a dream. So let me see. What else did I want to share? Okay, so, also, when on the night of the memorial service for Prince, I met both of his ex-wives. I met his brother. I met his ex-wives. I met a few people that day, and I gave each of them a copy of the tribute poem that I wrote in Prince's honor, and I also gave them my business card. Well, one of his ex-wives actually reached out to me after the memorial. Well, she wrote to me actually, and she told me that she was so touched and so moved by the tribute that I had written. She said that it actually moved her to tears. It was Manuela. And she invited me to her home. And from that, I was able to see Prince's piano, which she owns, one of only 5 pianos like this in the entire world. So, it was just like this unfolding thing that was happening where, all of these incredible experiences were happening. So, I really just want to impress upon you, how beautiful it is to have this type of soul connection with someone. I actually have like a really deep soul connection with my daughter. Like we have some of the most just like unbelievable synchronicity of things that happen. And, just as an example, yesterday, I got a little piece of glass in my foot, and she told me that she broke a glass. So, but things like that happen with the two of us all the time. Like we just have this beautiful, deep connection. I've also shared that I have a really deep connection with my father, who transitioned like 4 years ago. And I actually made my father and I deeply connected when he was going through his transition. And now he's very, very present in my life. And I get signs and messages, and it's just so, so beautiful. So, a spiritual connection, as I said, it can be, with someone that you have very dear in your life. It can be someone who has transitioned. It can be with anyone. So, if you're open to it, and if you, just really pay attention, like you will see these things start to happen, or if they're not already happening in your life, believe me, they are happening. You just, may not have noticed. But it's really so beautiful to have a spiritual connection with someone. So, again, I'm always sharing things just to kind of open our minds to some of the things that are available to us in this life, because, life is truly amazing, like so deeply amazing. And, there's such incredible things that are happening all around us. And we're often, just too busy to notice these things or to catch on to them. But there are no coincidences in life. Things happen. And, like I said, for instance, if you're thinking of someone and they call you, that's not at all a coincidence. That is a spiritual connection. So again, it's just, the idea of being aware of these things and being open to these things. So I want to share just two other little really incredible things that have happened, because believe me, I could talk about Prince for days, because it's like something is always happening, in my connection with him. But two other really beautiful things that happened a few years ago. I'd gone out to dinner or gone somewhere, and someone gave me a rose, like just one single red rose. And when I went home that night, I had a little vase that has Prince's face on the vase, which sounds kind of funny, but it was actually a candle, and I kept the little glass jar and used it as a vase. But anyway, I put this rose in that vase, and a few days later, when the rose died, I was throwing out the flower, and I noticed there was a plant growing in the water. And I actually potted that little plant, which must have been, it was not at all a rose. It was, I don't know what it was, but obviously something was attached to that rose and it grew. But, it was the fact that it was in that little Prince vase, that, I potted this little plant, and now it's like this beautiful, massive plant. And, and I've actually shared pieces of this plant with friends and family members. So, that was just kind of a fun thing, because I felt like Prince had sent to me that plant. And like I said, there are no coincidences in life. It was meant for me to get that rose that would sprout that plant. And, so again, that's connection. I also had an experience last year. A very dear friend of mine, he said that he was out having a cup of coffee one day, and this was last year, just before Christmas time. And he said that this, like a teenage kid, approached him and asked him if he would buy, he had this portrait, and he asked him if he would buy it, and said it was like some type of a fundraiser for his school. So he said when he looked at the picture, the moment he saw it, he knew it was for me. It was a image of Prince, and he purchased the picture from this kid, and he sent it to me. And he called me the day this happened, and he said, Ina, the universe gave me a gift to give to you, which I thought was so beautiful that he recognized it in that way. But there is absolutely no coincidence. Like that is absolutely true. It was meant for him to be there, for that kid to, offer him that image, which he knew was for me, and he sent it to me. And, and I absolutely love it. It's like a 3D holographic image of Prince. So, when we have this type of affinity for someone, believe me, like the most magical things can happen. So it's absolutely beautiful. And I just, I love sharing these stories, and, these beautiful synchronistic things that happen. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, the day that I went to see the medium, Marla Freeze, as I was leaving her home that day, because we'd had just, this beautiful, joyful conversation. And she said, well, I'll walk you out to your car. And as we were walking out, she starts singing one of Prince's songs. She started singing the song Kiss. And I said, no way, I can't believe you're singing that song. Like, that is my number one all-time favorite Prince song. And she goes, well, he's singing it because I'm hearing it. So it was like on the way out, he was singing that song Kiss. So that was also kind of a little fun thing that happened that day. Um, Also, I shared about the plant and the picture, but like I said, I could just go on and on with countless stories. I mean, like on Prince's birthday, I always do something to celebrate him, and I'll get so many messages from him. It's like, he literally lets me know that he's present. So, like I said, I never met him in person or in the physical realm, but I absolutely have a connection. And, I would say like a sort of a relationship, a spiritual relationship with him in the spiritual realm. So it's just really beautiful and powerful to have that type of connection. And I really, want to impress upon you that, as I said, no one ever truly dies. We leave the body, but, our loved ones are so present. They are so very with us and in our lives. And you can really cultivate a relationship with them if you're open to that. So, obviously we miss people in the physical when they're no longer with us, but they are absolutely just as present in our lives. So, just something really beautiful to be aware of. I am going to share a poem today. And although I shared this poem in the Power of Love series, or the Power of Love segment that I did probably a couple months ago, when I shared, that story about the tribute to Prince party I did, I read this poem, which I wrote to Prince, and it's titled Purple Rain, Reign. But I'm going to share it again because, one, it was several months ago, but it's also so appropriate for this segment. And so, anyways, I'm going to share this poem again, which I hope you will enjoy. And I was going to say that I think it's also so fitting for this time, considering like everything that's going on in the world, all the civil unrest and, all the commotion with the election. And, there's so much happening in the world. And I think it really is a time for us to all just, really become clear on, the things that really matter. Life matters, and love matters. And, our connection to one another matters. And we really have to all wake up to the truth that, we are here in this lifetime together, and we all play a part in this life, and we all have a role in this life. And, we're all meant to be here. God does not make mistakes. No one is higher or lower or better than, we are all children of the Most High. So I'm going to share this poem, Purple Rain, because it has a beautiful message of our connection, and also, obviously a tribute to Prince. Dear beloved, oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I just realized, that little piece of glass in my foot yesterday was a message from Prince. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you'll see. Dear beloved, we gather here with hand to heart in homage to your purple rain. Our hearts shattered, broken pieces scattered in our midst. We gather the pieces and assemble your symbol of love. The music plays on as we go on in this mystical dream called life. We honor existence by truly living in every moment. The reel of time is spinning, frame by frame, collecting the moments. A slow and steady churn captures every act. A prince appears in frame. His life plays out in song, revealing a purple heart. We honor the man. The music continues. notes streaming like purple raindrops falling from the sky. The head of the notes hang low, their stems wilted, their flags at half staff. Life is a musical mystery. We're all dancing in every scene. Can we rewind the frames, change the key, and sing in tune together? As we dance on and remember, we are here to love. Love keeps singing. Its voice cannot be silenced. Note by note, bar by bar, frame by frame, love breathes our sorrows and pain while standing in the purple rain, singing songs of hope, desiring to live and thrive in the hearts of mankind. May we stand as one, live together, and love one another, attuned to the good of all, lest we never forget we are all connected, one divine symphony creating the never ending story. Once upon a time, there lived a prince who played in the key of love, a life devoted to song. Let our hearts be moved, uplifted by the joyful noise of his devotion. As he fades from frame, never from our hearts, we unite as one. Alas, in the dream, the final curtain falls, a standing ovation, thunderous applause, an ode to his purple majesty, a sweet farewell to the heart and soul of Prince. Thank you. So that was Purple Rain, my tribute to Prince, which I've honored him in so many incredible ways. And he knows it and is so present in my life. And literally, as I started to read that, I just shared with you a little while ago that I got a piece of glass in my foot yesterday. And I was like, what in the world? And as I started to read that poem, I realized, what did I say? The broken pieces scattered in our midst, like, believe me, that is not a coincidence, although that was like a not so great thing that happened, but it is a message. It truly is. So there's a message in everything that happens in our lives. So, again, I just want you guys to be open and, just to be available to these type of possibilities, because we really need to start to connect with one another and really get to know one another, really start to unite as one global family, humanity, one race, the human race, like all of these things. We have to really see that, that is what life is all about. That's the reason that we're here. And, really start to heal some of the issues that we're facing in the world. So I hope you enjoyed that segment, because I certainly enjoyed talking about Prince and sharing some of those stories with you, which I think is absolutely incredible. So the winner of the book drawing last week, as I always share, if you watch the Love Talk segments and leave a like or a comment, and you're automatically entered for a drawing of a free copy of my book. And this week, the winner is actually my niece, Jasa Richards. So congratulations, Jasa. I'll be sending the book to you this week. And next week, we will continue with this series on going into the heart. I'm not exactly sure yet what the topic is for next week, but we're still in that series, so it'll come to me, and I will of course be letting you know. But as always, I wish you guys a beautiful, wonderful, safe, healthy, happy week ahead. Full of love and positivity and all good things. So let's just remember to keep our hearts open, love one another, love ourselves, develop that relationship with God, all the things that we talked about in our Love Talk segment. So again, I thank you so much for your time, and I will see you guys next week. Blessings.